So today's class is going to talk about the different components of a grant. We went over and over with last week, or the last time we did meet. Now I want to do it using a different format to make it make sense.
Okay.
Whenever you are going to put together a nonprofit for the purpose of getting funding, there are primarily three concepts that you have to have in order before you write the grant. The first is the vision. The second is the purpose. And the last is the mission. Now, the purpose is the reason why you exist. Let's take an example of a mother that lost her son to street violence. And she started the organization for the purpose of making sure that no other child would die from street violence. Well, now that she has a purpose, the next is the vision. The vision is what you want the world to look like when you finish. Based on this lady's pain of losing a child, what do you think her vision is?
Well, her vision would be to save lives.
That's right. A future where young people are not subject to gun violence. Now, got the purpose, got the vision. The mission is how you plan to carry it out. Read what a mission statement is.
The mission statement describes what you do and for whom.
So this is when she began to talk about her mission. Is to provide those tool sets necessary that young people make positive choices. So you see how the vision, the purpose, and the mission all room together?
Mm-hmm.
Starts with the purpose. Why are you doing it? Once you understand what you're doing, it's the vision. The vision is turning the negative into a positive. And the mission is how you plan to bring it about. That makes sense to you?
It does. So the mission is the action.
Yeah, the mission is the action. It's a how you plan to do it. Now, in coming weeks, we're going to start to sit down and talk about, we want to revisit your mission. We want to revisit your purpose and revisit your mission. I'm sorry, your vision.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the first part of a grant is the summary or project overview. Read for me what a summary and what a project overview is.
This section clearly and concisely summarizes the request. It should provide the reader with a framework that will help him or her visualize the project. This is not an outline of the proposal and does not require a summary of each section of the proposal. Keep it short. In a few cases, should it exceed a single page?
Yeah, it should not exceed a page unless the funder asks you to. But normally, you can do it in one page.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it important? Because if the funder cannot get past the summary, it's not going to read any other parts of the grant.
Okay.
And what do you think the summary is written? In the middle, at the beginning, at the end?
Well, the summary, I guess at the end, because we're saying it's summarizing.
Why
Okay.
is summary unless you're so good at writing grants? Then you start with the end. But
Okay.
as you become an expert at it, you can't start with the summary. But the rule of thumb is the summary is after you did your whole proposal and now you want to summarize everything.
Okay.
That makes sense?
It does, yes.
Next, read number 2.
Introduction, organizational information. So this is to tell the funder about who you are, what, when, how, where, and who. In this section, give an overview of the organization and its works. even areas not included in the proposed project or program. This is an opportunity to demonstrate the strength of the organization, including its leadership and partners.
This is important because if they make it through the summary, the next major thing they're going to look at the introduction. The introduction begins to tell them, here's why you should invest in us. Here's our expertise. We have been in existence for X number of days, X number of years. You begin to talk about your background and the subject matter and all of that related to your organizational information. We're going to work on this as well. Now, we've gotten to the summary. We made it through the introduction. The next thing the funder want to look at is number 3.
So that's the statement of the problem.
Exactly.
Your statement of the problem, your need, represents the reason behind your proposal. It specifies the conditions you wish to change. This is where the nonprofit identifies a problem and makes a case for why it's important. It explains how this is relevant to the funder's priorities and positions the nonprofit as the ideal partner to create a solution.
If you cannot articulate a problem, you will not get the money. Now, in dealing with the statement of the problem, we're going to deal with 2 types of research. One is called quantitative research, and the other is called qualitative research. Have you ever heard of either of those 2?
In our last session, yes.
Good. We touched on it briefly, but trust me, it's going to become part of the norm, quantitative and qualitative, when we get to the statement of the problem. Now, we identify the summary. We told them about our organization. We gave them the statement of the problem. Now, the next thing is number 4.
So number 4 is the goal. It's
Yes.
a broad statement or conceptual of program purpose that describes the expected long-term effects of a program.
For example, in the case of a mother that lost her child to gun violence, her goal will be to reduce or eliminate street violence among young people. That makes sense?
Yes.
Now, got the goal. Now, the next is the objective. What the objective is.
Objectives are operational, tell specific things you will be accomplishing in your project, and are very measurable.
For example, in this case, she would say by the year 2025, we plan to provide training on mediation to 150 young people in the Tampa Bay area over a period of no less than 18 months. That makes sense to you?
Yes, sir.
Now, the big part, number 6.
So number 6 is methods and design. This section describes the activities to be conducted to achieve the desired objectives. It also includes the rationale for choosing a particular approach, generally a straightforward chronological description of the, can you scroll? Of the operations of the proposed project works most effectively. In this section, the nonprofit should outline its plan to meet the objectives. It might be helpful to organize the plan in several phases that correlate to different objectives.
Okay, so when we talk about program design, this is when you begin to tell folks everything you're going to need related to implementation of the program. What do you think your first 30 days is going to consist of once they tell you that you've been awarded the grant? What do you do your first 30 days?
I have no idea.
Well, think about it. You bring on staff.
Okay.
First 30 days, you put an ad in the paper. You say you've been funded for such and such. You're looking for a program coordinator, housing counselor, or any of that.
Okay.
Also, during that first 30 days, you're going to get a building. You're going to buy your equipment. You're going to buy your supplies. You're gonna put together your application for people to complete, and you're gonna put together the program itself. That makes
Oh.
sense?
It does, yes. You're starting your business.
So what do you think you do the next 45 to 65 days? Once you got staff on board?
Once I've got staff, trained staff.
Nope, because that should have been done during phase one.
Oh, doing it 30 days?
Yeah, 30 to 45 days. The 45 to 90 days is when you start to recruit. That is your client. You put an ad in the paper. Hey, we're doing interviews for participants in a new program that's been started. We want you to come in. We want to do an evaluation if possible, and maybe get a waiting list. That's what you want, is a waiting list.
Okay.
And guess what? It's only during the 65 to 65th day that you actually start your operation.
Okay.
Okay, next, number 7.
So number 7 is evaluation. It's important to describe in your proposal exactly how you will decide whether or not your project has been successful, achieved its objectives, etc. The evaluation plan will tell the prospective funding agency how you'll be going about showing them at the end of the project that their investment in you is a good one. This evaluation will demonstrate the return on investment in the project or program for the funder.
So have you ever heard of a logic model?
No.
Uh-oh, you're gonna have a lot of fun. Have you ever heard of a theory of change?
No.
Oh, you're gonna have a lot of fun when we get to this section right here. Because what's
Okay.
going on is that you are making an argument that this is how we're gonna evaluate our program to show that we are going to be successful. You're gonna learn terms like output, input, impact, all those terms are associated with evaluation. So we're going to spend a little time on evaluation, just like we're going to spend a little time on all of the sections. So now you got your tools together as to how you're going to define success. Number 8.
Future funding. How will the program be funded once the grant is completed?
Now, what are you going to put here in terms of what happens after the grant runs out? What are you going to do?
Well, I know from our last session, you said you're going to teach me more than just how to wait for welfare. You want to teach me how to have the program to make money above and beyond waiting for grant monies.
And that's where the future funding comes into play. You tell the funder, but look, I'm a trained grant writer now.
Mm-hmm.
We will start to look for grants in November to prepare for the next year. That's how you're going to sustain yourself, by showing that when you come to a conclusion in December, we're going to start in November to start looking for grants for the new cycle year.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
It does, yes.
And the other thing we're going to talk about as we move forward is that you're going to say we also are going to create businesses that bring in what's known as earned income. And we're going to talk about what earned income is when we get down to that section of future funding. Excellent. Now, this part, number 9, a lot of people hate this part.
So number 9 is the budget. A budget project is more than just a statement of proposed expenditures. It's an alternate way of expressing your project. Include a budget outlining estimated expenses and income, if any. If the program design included phases, show the budget for each phase in the overall budget. Also describe other funding sources for the project if the proposal is only seeking partial funding, and if the program will require less funding in the future. I like the idea of a budget because that's really tells you how you're running your business.
Well, it's all about the numbers. You better know budgets, because you can lose a grant if you don't. Have you ever made budget before?
I have, yes, a personal budget, yes.
Oh, you're going to have fun when we get to this section right here. I'm telling you, when we get, because a lot of people, they most fear those numbers. They say, oh my God, please, not the numbers. But after I'm finished teaching you, you're gonna say, bring it on.
Well, I'm a numbers person, so,
bring it
you
on.
know, I tell people lie, math never lies. People lie, but math doesn't.
No, math
So,
will never lie.
yeah, so I like numbers and I like math, so I'll be good with the budget.
Good, you're gonna love that section then. Number 10.
Dissemination is the means by which you let others know about your project.
Okay, this is important because when you do receive a grant or donation, when you do any of your media outlet, be it your webpage, press release, you must mention the people who fund you. So somewhere in your literature, it should be funded by or donated by. That makes sense?
It does, yes.
What do you think happens if we don't put it there and you go to the next year to get fund from the same funder? What do you think is going to
You
happen?
don't get any.
They're going to look at you and say, who you are? And say, we don't know you since we see your material and nothing is mentioned about us.
They're giving money to get that free, for that advertising.
Exactly. It's all about this. Nobody does anything for free. Everybody got an underlying reason, even if it makes them feel good.
Mhm.
People do not do things for free. They get something back in return. Next.
Appendices. Appendices contain information peripheral to your proposal.
This is where you put your board of directors, list of board of directors, your press release, any media that you do. This is where you put your annual report.
Mhm.
This is also where you put in your determination letter, because every time you write a grant, you have to submit your determination letter.
Okay.
So that's some of the things that you list in your appendix, but we'll go deeper into that when we get to this section. And finally, next.
The conclusion. This section is the place to make a final appeal for your project. Briefly reiterate what your nonprofit wants to do and why it's important. Underscore why your agency needs funding to accomplish it. Don't be afraid at this stage to use a bit of emotion to solidify.
Read that last sentence again.
Don't be afraid at this stage to use a bit of emotion to solidify.
Normally, no place in the grant should you get emotional.
Okay.
But during the conclusion in that last paragraph, that's where you can appeal to emotion. Because you've already shown you got a tight proposal. You already show you know what to do. You already show you know how much it's going to cost. Now you need that last paragraph. This is why me. In the case to that mother who lost her child to street violence, this is where she put in there, I don't do this for money, but I do it out of pain. I do it because I lost that which was most important to me, and I don't want any other mother or parent or loved one to feel that pain. Believe it or not, it's that closing argument that can get you that grant. Everybody else is writing the same thing in terms of the program, but your personal reason would appeal to the emotion. That makes sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's continue.
Give me 30 seconds. I'm going to turn off the TV. That's just way too loud.
No, go ahead, take your time. Let me put this on pause. So tonight, we're going to be talking about a statement of the problem. Do you recall from our quick overview what the problem is, what the statement of the problem is?
I do not.
It talks about what's wrong. That's all the statement of the problem is.
Okay.
What's wrong?
So it's literally, what is the problem?
Exactly. Exactly. It's a statement of the problem, or in lay people terms, what is the problem? Okay, let's continue. Now read for me that first paragraph.
Your statement of the problem or your need or what represents the reason behind your proposal. It specifies the conditions you wish to change. It should include the following.
Read the first one.
It should be well supported with evidence such as statistical facts, expert views, and trends.
Second,
Support the nature of the problem with statistics provided by authoritative sources and from appropriate literature reviews. And you want to provide statistical evidence.
excellent, because
should-
you're gonna learn about how to do all this research.
Okay. It should clearly convey the focus of the project early in the narrative.
Right, don't go all over the place. Talk about what the problem is in that first paragraph. People shouldn't have to read to the third paragraph to get what the statement of the problem is. Next,
Establish the importance and significance of the problem.
it's very important that you emphasize how important it is. And even more important, what happens if nobody solved the problem? In the case of that mother that lost her child, clearly, if no one solved the problem, then the killing will continue to take place. Next.
Demonstrate that that your problem is feasible and manageable to solve.
Don't give a gloomy picture. All these kids are dying. It's so sad. I just can't take it no more. No, talk about how you're going to solve the problem based on best evidence. Talk about how bad it is, but also talk about your solution. Next.
Next, we have state the problem and outputs in terms of human needs and societal benefits. Describe the need in human terms. For example, if you want to buy computers for a youth program, talk about the happy computer literate students who will benefit in the future. You want to indicate how the problem relates to your organizational goals.
If it's not related to your goal, then you need to find something else to do. What do I mean? If the purpose or goal of this organization is reduce the number of killings, and the problem that you're talking about is kids playing jump rope, those two don't make sense. So make sure it makes sense. Next.
Okay. Demonstrate the need for your methodology. Or in other words, what are your activities and timetables?
Yeah, that methodology goes back to the program design that we talked about earlier. We're going to spend a whole section dealing with methodology.
Okay.
Okay.
And
next.
last but not least, qualitative and quantitative research.
We're going to spend so much time over the next lessons on quantitative and qualitative research.
Okay.
Tell me what quantitative research is.
Quantitative research is research involving the use of structured questions where the response options have been predetermined and a large number of respondents is involved.
Quantitative research deals with the numbers, and we'll go more deep into that as we move forward. For example, in the case of the mother that lost her child to violence in the streets, and doing her quantitative research, she will put down how many young people have died from gun violence in the year 2022. See how we get the number, total number. The other thing that quantitative research deals with is also the why. So she will go to Google, she will Google, why are so many young people life being taken by guns? And then everybody ever written on the subject will come up. And that's what we call quantitative research. What is the next type of research?
It's qualitative research. Qualitative research is collecting, analyzing, and interpreting data by observing what people do and say, whereas quantitative research refers to counts and measures of things. Qualitative research refers to the meanings, concepts, definitions, characteristics, metaphors, symbols, and descriptions of things.
In other words, when you're doing quantitative research, you can do it in a couple ways. Focus groups, interviews, or surveys. So what do we mean? Well, this lady decided to get some data, quantitative data from young people that have experienced violence. So she put together a focus group. She take them to McDonald's and she asked them questions. Why do you carry a gun? Why do you feel a need to carry a gun? What will stop you from carrying that gun? So qualitative research has to do with subjective, whereas quantitative research has to do with objective, whereas so qualitative research has to do with subjective. That makes sense?
It does, yes.
Good. Some of the research sites that we want to visit to start to gather the data necessary to make a statement of the problem. One is going to be fact finders, that's part of the census.
Mhm.
The next is Florida charts, that has to do with the health department. And then thirdly, city data, that has to do with doing a demographic picture of what a particular community looks like or zip code looks like. That makes sense?
Yes, sir.
Let's continue. Okay, now let's break it down. Now, tell me the different sources that you can go to get the data you need.
Okay, so according to this is Google. I love Google. Local government data sources.
Let me
reports,
tell you
and-
something. Google is my best friend. You hear me?
I love Google.
Yes. Yes. Now,
Um,
besides Google, what are some other things they're talking about?
Local government data sources.
That's
You've
right. You
got,
can go to
the
city
census.
government, county government, and get data as well. Health department, police department, and I can go on and on.
Okay.
Okay,
Uh,
next.
So you want to compare target area to region and national.
That is, if you are in Hillsborough County, you're going to want to compare Hillsborough County to the region, then you want to compare it to the nation. Because you're trying to make an argument, the problem where you are is worse than the nation as well as the region. That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay, next.
So you want to demonstrate this through facts.
Only facts, not assumption, only facts. And we're going to talk about where do you go to get those facts. And finally,
Yes. And so you want to avoid jargon and any rhetoric.
yes, forget the rag, forget the jargon and the rhetoric, talk nothing but the facts. These are the different parts or elements of putting together a problem statement. Read it for me.
So the need statement is who is affected.
Who's
what is
affected? Go ahead.
What is happening?
What's happening?
Where does the situation take place?
Is it in Earth or New York, Chicago? So we need to specify.
Okay. Why is it a problem?
Yeah, why is it a problem? We know what the problem is, we know who affected, but why is it? What's the reason for the problem? Next.
What else can you tell us about the situation?
Next.
And who else thinks it's a problem?
Who else do you think is a problem if kids are dying in the streets?
Well, other than mothers, I would think the police would, the
Yes.
schools would.
Yes. Continue.
Neighborhood people, neighbors.
Yes.
Anybody who's going to be impacted either by the gun violence itself
Yes.
or the death of a
Yes.
child.
Yes. Yes. The government, and we can go on and on. Hospitals, and we can go on and on. But the bottom line is we need to make an argument that we're not the only one that see this as a problem.
Okay.
Good enough? Next.
So what are the underlying causes?
Well, we know what the results are. Now you need to address the issue, the why. What's the underlying causes for the problem?
Okay, and last is what are the effects of this problem?
Well, in the case of that parent that lost that child to street violence, the effect is a fearful community. People don't want to go outside. Medical bills, hospital bills, and it goes on and on and on. That makes sense?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Now, next.
So next is our needs statement. So you want to give an accurate picture. You want to convince reviewers.
Yes,
You
you
want-
must convince the person that's reading your materials. That is, you don't want to put anything together. You want to actually put it in the form of a story that you're telling that's so compelling that that person does not want to put that document down.
Okay, so you want to stress that it's an urgent problem.
Not tomorrow, today, right now, because if we don't see something right now, you got to emphasize, not in the future, but right now.
Okay, you want to build a strong case.
You build a strong case by showing the quantitative and qualitative research. You build a strong argument by showing, here's what we plan to do to solve the problem.
And last is use the most important facts and statistics and use verifiable local data and facts about the target population.
There's a tendency for us to do research from New York, Chicago, from Hillsborough County. You have to do research related to your specific geographic area.
Okay.
And it must be the most important data that's available. Okay, now part 3.
So next is our need statement. Our need statement needs to have credible sources.
You can't go and talk to a crack cocaine addict on the corner and ask them, how do you build the economy? I think you get my point, right? It has to come from credible sources, right?
Right?
Okay, next.
Don't make claims that go beyond the data.
Don't talk beyond the data, the facts. Don't put your own 2 cents into it. We don't really
Okay.
care about your 2 cents. Keep it to yourself.
You want to use hard and soft data, which includes statistics, facts, stories, and anecdotal information.
Right, hard data, another way of hard data is what we call quantitative data. So stats and facts. The other type of source, which is known as soft data, is what's known as qualitative data. That's personal information, like focus groups and interviews and things of that nature.
So it says, don't use circular reasoning. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Here's circular reason. We need a swimming pool for the kids in the neighborhood. Therefore, we need a swimming pool for the kids in the neighborhood.
Okay.
In other words, you should say, we need a swimming pool for the kids in the neighborhood so they don't get into trouble. You see what I'm saying? Circular reason when you say the same thing.
Okay.
Okay.
That
So
literally means what it says.
there you
and
go. Exactly.
You want to show that people will use your program.
This is where you go before you actually submit the proposal. You do your own focus group or your own interviews or surveys to say, hey, look, we did a survey and we found that of the young people that we asked if they would take part of this program, 9 out of 10 say yes. So that's how you want to do. You want to make an argument that we've already done the research to show that people will take the program. So far, so good.
Yes, sir.
Let's continue. More. And if you notice, everything's repetition. It's going to so become second nature to you.
Okay. So next is our needs assessment, or what's referred to as the problem statement. This can be 3 to 4 pages.
Yeah.
The needs assessment is a concise demonstration of the specific situation, opportunity, problem, issue, need, and the community your proposal addresses.
And what are two types of research that you're going to use to do your needs statement?
Quantitative and qualitative.
Hello? Okay, let's continue.
Support your statement with qualified third-party research or evidence to justify the need or problem.
In other words, not that guy who's on the corner doing crack. You know, you need a better source of information. Next.
Clearly and concisely demonstrate that a relevant, compelling problem or need exists and include the following: a description of your target population and a definition of community problem to be addressed and service area need.
Okay, now let's go again and talk about need statement. The first.
So what is the need statement? The need you address must be clearly related to the nonprofit's mission and purpose.
Remember we talked earlier about mission, purpose,
And vision.
and vision, right? So if your particular problem statement doesn't address your vision, your mission, it's no good. Throw it away.
Okay. It should focus on those people you serve rather than the organization's needs.
Talk about, and what get me with a lot of nonprofit, when I ask them what is their problem, and they say my problem is I don't have any money. That's not the problem. The problem is teenagers killing each other.
So in other words, don't be selfish.
Yeah, because they know you need money. That's why you're writing the grant. So if they ask you what the problem is, and you say, we don't have money to do this. Well, they say, yeah, but we want to know what is it that you're trying to do. It should always be about your clients when it comes to focusing your organization, as opposed to focus on the client as opposed to the organization. Next.
It should be well supported with evidence such as statistical facts, expert views, and trends.
And where are those two types of research?
Well, where or what are they?
Yeah, what are those two types of research?
So that's going to be a combination of the quantitative and qualitative.
Good. We're going to keep on coming back to them all the way to the last class. Now, this right here, I'll be sending over to you. And it's going to give you an example of a statement of the problem. And I want you to look at this and review this so we can talk about it during our next class.
Okay. And speaking of which, I will throw in at this point, I did complete the LinkedIn information online.
Good. Excellent. 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 Because what you're going to see, I'll post a whole lot.
You do. I've gotten some notifications.
So why do you think I post so much?
To remain active and involved.
There you go. People are watching. You might not even know, but trust me, somebody is watching. I oftentimes hear people say, oh, I follow you on LinkedIn. You know, so they don't have to respond. All you need to know is that you got to keep on putting it out there. Every time you do something, put it on LinkedIn. And the other thing, every time you post, because my circle consists of funders, people who's doing the funding will see your post. Because after each class, I always ask 2 things that you learned today.
Two things that I've learned today?
Yes. Give me 2 things. And you'll take 2 takeaways.
Well, just what we were talking about, how important LinkedIn is, because I told you I stepped away from it years ago, probably 5 years ago. I just, took down my profile and didn't use it because at the time I didn't see the need for it. So what LinkedIn has done, not only help me to connect with you and see that you've got 7,000 followers.
Oh, that's just the beginning, man. Because look, I get people asking to join me. I collectively say no, no, no.
Mhm. I see your
In order to be
7,000
part of
followers.
me, you gotta be a player, move, or shaker.
Right. So that's
You know,
that's one
it.
thing I
You got the
learned.
people that's linked to me. You say this man know everybody. Because people sometimes on LinkedIn, they say, look at all these followers. I said, well, the followers don't mean anything. They're not a mover or a shaker. You know, they can't take you to the next level. Why would you partner with someone if y'all can't do something together to bring me more for the both of you?
Right.
Okay, and I apologize for this call. I'm glad you endured the whole way, right?
No, it's okay because I've been there. Because what usually happens when I get a sinus infection, it turns into bronchitis. So I've dealt with having coughs sometimes for months. Thank God that has not happened in more than a year, but that's what used to happen. I get a sinus infection for a week and I get bronchitis for months. So I would just have an unending cough that just would not go away. So no worries about your cough. Been there, done that. Now, the other takeaway I'm learning for me is the structure, because I didn't have, like, in my mind's eye, I didn't have an idea of what the structure would look like. And you broke it down. The first 30 days, you're hiring staff, you're locating a building, you're buying supplies, you're training your staff. The next 45 days, you're recruiting your clients or your program participants. And the ultimate goal is to have a waiting list. And then on your 65th day, you're actually operating your nonprofit and or your business.
Operational at that particular point.
Right. So I didn't have an idea of the flow. So that's what I've learned, you know.
Oh man, when we get to that method and program design, it's going to get even more complex. Okay. But it's going to make sense at the end. Mm-hmm. So do you want to regroup again the same time next Wednesday?
Yes, that's fine. Yes.
Okay, I got you down for Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Okay. I did have a question, just kind of my own kind of piggybacks on what we were just talking about. Is there an average grant amount that you see? I mean, is it like, I talk to different people. I talk to everybody, let's be honest. And I have some people say, oh, well, my grant was $1,500. I talked with somebody who is the cousin of a close friend, and he applied for like a $300,000 grant.
Yeah, it depends on your capacity.
Okay.
Now, when you're just getting started, you're going to have a small grant, 15, 5,000, because you're trying to build up a track record. Mm-hmm. You can't get to the big grants like 100,000, 200,000, unless people know that you had people's money and you did what you were supposed to do.
Okay.
So, in other words, it depends upon the capacity of the organization.
Okay. And just the fact that I'm the new kid on the block kind of limits how much people are going to trust me with their money, which makes sense.
Yes. Yes. But then you might be on the other side of the table because you're becoming a grant writer. You might be writing a grant for another organization for 100,000 because that organization has been around for a while.
Okay.
So think of it in terms of writing grants for yourself, which is new, and also because.
Now, my other question is, because, you know, I sit in my free time. And, you know, Dolly Parton has a fund, Jeff Bezos has a fund, Bank of America has like a fund, Wells Fargo, all these people. Do you target specific companies for money, or is it just you kind of throw it out there to everybody and see what?
No, you target specific companies. And when we get to the section, what we call grant research, that's when we want to show you how to identify the funders.
Okay.
This don't arbitrarily go out there. You need to specify and make sure the funder's mission and vision mirrors your vision and mission. Okay. This don't write a grant to write a grant, but make sure y'all coincide with each other. That they value the same thing that you value.
Okay. And how long does it typically take from actually writing the grant submitting the grant and getting a response? Is it weeks, months?
And again, that depends. Most times, if it's small grants, we're talking about, first of all, normally got about 4 weeks to write the grant, 4 to 6 weeks to write the grant. And then it's gonna take them 30 days to review it. So normally about 60 to 70 days later of actually getting the money in their hand.
Okay.
So you're gonna love this class right here. I'm telling you. Because all those questions that people been telling you, you're gonna say, hold on. Everything y'all told me is bogus. It simply isn't true. You're gonna say, I made an investment, man, to get the real deal.
Well, see, a friend of a friend, he has like a little golf tournament that he does for kids. And he's like, oh, my grant's only $1,500. Well, based on what he's doing, that works for him. But I think,
Yeah, people are not gonna put as much money in golf as it would be a teenage pregnancy program, as it would be a violent prevention program, affordable housing, like that. So yeah, the subject matter does count. People not gonna put in money because they don't think golf is something that everybody needs.
Right.
But everybody need a house. Everybody need a job, etc. Excellent. So we'll catch up with each other again next Wednesday, same time, same place.
Sounds good.
You
have a good
any
week.
questions or anything like that, hit me up.
Will do. You have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.